the property was.
My husband wanted to come, but there's no disability access to the planters.
Delivery and mail, John.
I was told it wasn't.
Oh, no, we have an elevators.
Oh,
We
we do?
we could come up and bring them around. Is it?
Well, he can't come out.
Okay.
It's too hard to get him out.
You think your microphone's about to call?
Oh. I'm short, but that's too short.
People listening online are gonna hate that sound. All right, we'll give it another minute and then we'll 2 weeks when we get started.
Let's say that this is the YouTube, Ruth is handling YouTube just to let people know. Look at that.
Do we have anyone on the line with us?
I didn't notice, let me check.
It'll be good to know if someone, do we have anyone, they don't have the ability to raise their hand, correct?
Correct,
Kind of like we had in Zoom.
correct,
Okay.
totally different, they
So
can
it's-
only watch.
Watch, okay.
There was one spectator.
Okay. All right, well, it is 7:01. We'll get started. Ruth, would you like to take roll, please?
Andy Hitchcock,
Here?
Mike Malloy,
Here.
John Buda,
Here,
Martin O'Toole.
Awesome, thank you. We've got a couple things on the agenda before we get going. Just would like to welcome John Buda and Marty O'Toole as new members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Thanks for being a part of this, appreciate it. Would like to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Did everyone have a chance to review them? Any questions or comments as a result? No? Okay. Well, I would make a motion to approve the minutes from December 15th.
Second.
Ruth, could you take roll, please?
Andy Hitchcock,
Yes.
Mike Malloy,
Yes.
John Buda,
yes.
Martin O'Toole.
Yes.
Awesome. Moving right along. Two items on the agenda tonight. We'll start with 807 Bell Road. Before we do that, we do need to swear in anyone who's planning to give testimony tonight. So whether you are speaking on behalf of or against any of the things in front of us, we do need to swear you in. So, Roddy, would you take it
Sure.
away?
If anyone is going to testify, if they would raise their right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Wonderful. So agenda item number one, case 22-01 at 807 Bell Road. We are seeking an area variance of a little more than 6 feet for a right side yard setback. Who do we have to present on behalf of our homeowners? Please.
Yeah.
If you could just introduce yourself and
My
take it
name
away.
is Ken Bedell, I'm with Laura Hohenzollern, and I'm representing Mark and Wayne Pace. They are requesting a right side yard setback of approximately 6 feet. It's a very tight piece of property, and they want to utilize as much of the backyard as they can for their family. They have 2 sons and their family and their children, and the existing garage is in very poor condition anyway, so we're going to be taking it down and just asking for a little more on the side yard so they can utilize more of the rear yard for their property.
Any other color commentary you want to give us about the plan, anything that you want us to know?
As far as I know, I mean, it's kind of obvious that, I mean, the left side yard is already at even less than what we're asking for. I think it's 9.65 feet, and we're asking just for a little bit more on the right side. If we do not move this over, then it's really we're gonna really constrict and have to go farther out back with the master bedroom. The house is only 1,100 square feet to start with, and we're only putting 1,100 square foot addition onto that. And this is their forever home, they want to age in place. We really can't go up, and it's just a tight piece of property. And what they're doing with the home is gonna be very, very beautiful.
So if I heard you correctly, it's about 1,100 square feet now, and you're going to double it.
Just about.
Okay.
That's a single story addition.
It is a single story addition. And it will not, we're not raising the roof line from the front at all. And we'll just need to get a little bit more room. So if you can see where the master bedroom is, well, you really can't. I have the prints with me. It is right behind it. You see the garage, you see where it says picket fence? That's the laundry, and that's the master suite behind it. So if we push that garage back over another 6 feet, we've lost their mudroom entrance, they have no mudroom, no laundry room, and there's no patio. Now, the other thing I want to point out is there is a little mistake on this. There's the address and the property, it's a correct site plan, but the civil engineer had the wrong parcel numbers, and I have those with me, if you'd like to see it. It's 807 Valley.
But the parcel number is correct, it's just the street number that's
The
incorrect.
parcel number is not correct.
Okay.
I have to correct it.
Okay.
Right here.
Anything else you'd like to provide us?
That's it for now.
Wonderful. Does anyone on the board have questions about the plans, about John?
Well, perhaps to increase my knowledge, if Dave or Bridie can give us some historical or legal background on why there are setbacks and how the distance of a code setback is established.
Well, this particular lot goes back to 1947 zoning, because that's when it was platted around that time, so it don't conform to today's zoning. We have a separate zoning book, 1947, which states that the side yard setbacks have to be 1/6 the width of the lot, but not less than 10 feet. So that's what brought Ken to this board here. In that neighborhood especially.
Any,
And if it matters, there are larger homes on that street and in that neighborhood.
the application states to align the master suite with the existing garage would severely encumber the usable rear yard area. How much would aligning the master suite with the existing garage encumber the usable rear yard?
I have listening. I don't, did they have the architectural footprint? Did I provide that?
Yeah,
We have several.
see, yeah.
Okay. If you look at the last page, you can see the existing residence. And it shows the existing garage.
Checking about these,
Pardon me?
be checking about these.
Next page. One more. There. That's the existing garage. And I think that those setback is the current zone. I think that was, but you can see where the existing garage is right now, and if they push it out, it really, to align that with the back of the garage, it's going to take up, plus the garage is pushed to the back. We're moving it up a little bit. It encumbers the whole backyard. A lot of it.
All right. The application states the intent to include a pizza oven. Could you show us where that is intended to go?
I have no idea where that's going at. It's going to go on the patio. The patio will be, if you can go forward to the first page, you can see the area between the screen porch and the master suite is what's going to be January, and it's a big design. It's not a very big one, is my understanding.
My concern is that the left side of the property is already close to the property line. According to the illustrate, there's another illustration.
Correct,
So this-
we're lining with the existing deck.
So this is pushing out to the right side, restricting the access for emergency services to the back of the yard. There's no relief being given on the left side. I'm just sharing my concern.
I guess I'm not under what emergency services do you get to the back.
What's gonna light the pizza oven?
Oh,
Okay, any neighbor feedback?
not that I'm aware of, I can't say that there's nobody here yet.
We'll get to you in just a moment.
Okay, that exhausts my questions for now.
Mike, Marty? Questions
Not yet.
for our applicant?
Yeah, not yet, thank you.
Okay. So we have someone here to speak. Neighbor, if you could just introduce yourself, let us know where you live.
Hi, my name is Jerry Byrne, and I live at 99 Laurel, which is right there in the corner. I would be the 6 feet that he's talking about.
Okay.
Okay, we've been in that house for 38 years in South Russell. We've had a lot of things fall down on our property. Also, there is a lot of water access, the drainage that comes off the road. We have a lake right about there every year.
On the property line,
Yes.
that area?
Right there.
Okay.
Apparently they have done put some stakes up. Now, without telling us, we didn't know. I went out one day and went, where did these all come from? And why are they taking my hydrangea, which has been there 30 years, and my other stuff? I have other plants that are on the line. They'll all be gone. We spent 38 years building up the property to make it nice. My husband can't walk anymore. He's had back surgery and just can't get around. Or he'd been here. I did not know that they had an elevator, I just found out tonight. So that's my concern. They'll be taking a lot of that and with the water drainage from the road that comes down.
Okay.
And I didn't know if the stakes where the stakes are. I don't know what that means. No one told me, no one explained any of that. With these flags, you can't see the back because they're buried in snow. But they're stakes with orange ribbons on them. I asked my neighbor on the other side, do you have them? They've got a couple, but not like I did.
Mhm.
I'm like, no one told me, no one asked me, nobody said they were coming on my property. So I'm a little upset.
I'm not I'll wait till I'm
No, you have more to share?
No, that's it. That's basically what my issue is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Feel
so
free.
I'm just tired of getting squeezed out.
I cannot verify that the stakes are on her property. I seriously.
No, I didn't say they were. They had to come on, put them on my property, because they're right on the line.
I'm not aware that they did that.
But I just.
I think there's a
what's
fence
going
there,
on.
and I think that's what they did.
Yeah, but there's places where there's no fence.
Right. As far as the hydrangeas are concerned, are they on your property or are they on this
They're
property?
on the line.
They're on the line. We'll do our best.
And there's trees there that belong to us too. So,
Well, those we will protect. And as far as the drainage is concerned, we will address that with our civil engineer. So that we
so
have.
as long as it doesn't drain on my property.
No,
We have it on
we
the
have
other
to do
side,
proper
yeah, bigger
swale.
lakes on the other side when they took out the line markers on the other house that is now a rental on Laurel. When they did it.
I'm not
Well, no,
familiar.
but I'm just saying, this happened before, so I'm, history-wise, looking at the water backup that I get on the other side.
I know that we'll address the topography of the property with the proper swales. To address that water best as we can in relation to the surrounding property.
But are those, where their markers are, is that where you're coming out, is that the,
It
it says property line, that's why I did.
should be the property line, and one of the items that we have to determine, which I've already addressed the surveyor, is to find out who owns the fences. Okay?
Well, there is a marker, there was a marker, my husband said, I couldn't find it. I don't know if someone took it out, it used to be a marker on the other side, and they took that out, and they did the other pass.
Well, we're going to be pinning the four corners of the property, and we're gonna determine exactly what the property line. We will do our best, we will protect the trees that are on the line, because of that, we don't wanna.
But I
destroy
just
them.
want you to know, before you do anything, you let us know. I just
I
want
will
to wow
give you can contact me directly, and I
Like I
will
did
work
with
with
the
you.
states.
One of the things that we work really, it's really about keeping everybody surrounding happy. So we have a history of taking care of the neighborhood and taking care of the neighbors, and you'll have my phone number and we'll be in constant contact with you.
Okay.
Okay, and we will address the water, I can't speak to the water because I have not seen it yet.
Well, you'll be seeing it when we get it. We get the
Yeah, probably in a
rain.
day or two, or everything else. Yeah, and I apologize that they went on your property, it just happened so fast and we did have to stake on the property.
I just, hey, we're doing this. I didn't know that was happening. You know what I'm trying to say? It may not be today, tomorrow, but they're coming. I'm like, where did this come from? And what is this mean?
I will be in contact with you on my
Because
property.
pictures like this doesn't always mean
I understand,
when I see what it is you're talking about.
I understand.
Okay?
What we are known for our communication, and obviously there's a lack of communication. And we'll be in contact. Actually, what we do is a neighborhood walk before we get started. And so not only, all the neighbors around will have our phone numbers. And we'll be in touch. That's the best I can do right now until we,
Get started right now. But, so I just want to know what your intentions are, before I come out and find out.
our intentions are to keep everybody happy, including our phone.
I think it might help if we specifically explain what you're doing. I don't know if she understands what the setback is that you're asking for.
No, I don't want setback means.
Most cities that have a zoning code where your property, the building on the property has to be a certain distance from the side yards, from the front yard and the back yard. And according to the 1947, please correct me if I'm wrong, actually Dave explained it better, is we have to be how many?
1/6 the width of the lot, not less than 10 feet.
Right. So right now, we are, it should be how much?
1/6 the width of the lot, not less than 10 feet.
Okay, so, and we're asking for 6 feet.
Right, so you're going to take 6 feet and more not.
No, 6 feet of our we're gonna move 6 feet on our
Close.
property, we're not going, yes, to the property line, we're not coming into the
So
property.
you're just going to be real close to the property when you get to the back.
We're gonna be 10 feet from the property line,
You'll still be 10 feet from the property.
yes. I'm not sure about the fence yet, but we'll have to talk about that too. I don't know what they want to do with the fence, we have to determine who's,
They're putting a fence there too.
I'm not sure about that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have to go before.
You are correct.
As well.
It used to be 3 feet between properties. That's what the fence, because we tried to put fences up, being in the corner and having animals, dogs. And it was always 3 feet between the property lines. There was a 3 feet variance, but that was it.
Yeah.
He would know, he knows more about it.
We're gonna be 10.2, well, 10.2 feet from the property.
Computer's got the one.
It was there a moment ago.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was.
let's say 10 feet.
I promise you I will be in touch with you probably tomorrow, or we can exchange phone numbers before we can leave there. Okay?
Thank you. Were there other comments on behalf of the board?
I got a question that this is clearly it's an older neighborhood, right? These things have been going on for decades. And over the time, there's been a lot of other variances and expansions and additions people have done. And so the distance we're looking at here, the distance to the property line, is this something that has been done before? And so the positioning of this residence on the property, that what we're doing here would be consistent with the way the neighborhood has evolved, or would this be different than the way the neighborhood has evolved?
I did not see if there was any precedent set before. That probably would have been the way.
Dave, do you have any sense of that? If other people also, as homes have evolved, if other people also sort of gotten variances and scooched out a little bit, or is everybody else sort of still solidly the distance away from the?
Not on the west end of the village where this gentleman, the applicant, is at. We've had other variances for that reason. And they still go back into the 47 zoning because they're close close proximity to the property lines.
Can I say one thing? I, without the help and the information that Dave has provided us, and he's been really a good source of help and information, that's the reason that we're here.
So just for our new members, we do kind of look at everything as a standalone case. So precedent, I mean, we don't necessarily consider precedent, just what's presented to us and how do we look at it. As Dave pointed out, that area of the village is unique. The lots are smaller, the houses are closer together. Very different challenges than what we would see, east of 306. So, just for what that's worth.
Good.
Other things, questions, anything else from folks in the audience? Okay. With that, then I guess I will make a motion to approve. In the case of BZA number 2201, I would make a motion to approve a 6.05 foot right side yard setback for the house located at 807 Bell Road.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. Ruth?
Andy Hitchcock,
Yes?
Mike Malloy,
Yes.
John Buda,
Yes.
Martin O'Toole.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming tonight. And
Thank you
please,
very much.
if you could just be in touch with the neighbors and
We're on this phone number right now.
appreciate it. All right.
And we'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch.
Yes.
So we will move on to the second item on our agenda tonight, case number 2202 for two different variance requests at 1417 Bell Road. Mr. Milko, would you like to
Yes.
take it away?
Board members. Thanks for hearing this tonight, and thank you for your administration, very helpful in getting the paperwork together. A little color into the situation. I was a 30-year resident of Chagrin Falls. Hallelujah, moved to Geauga County. I love Chagrin Falls, but we're ready to come out here, and we're so pleased. I was a council member in Chagrin Falls on various boards there, so I understand the job you have to do, so I respect and appreciate that. My family and I bought the property, right off the Bell on the west side of Pawpaw Lake 3 years ago, and decided what to plan to do with it. I'm blessed to turn 60 and I have a 10-year-old and 8-year-old daughters, so they're big time into 4-H, and so the great Geauga County Fair coming up this year, so we want to show some show lambs, and I'll show a little color to that. As I understand, there are several attempts on that property to have developers from 5 to 10 homes that were denied at some point. I was lucky to come in and get that land and build one house, barn, chicken coop, and we're gonna have some crops out there and just really, get some dirt under my girls' nails before they start painting. So, I want to speak to both today. And the color of it is, this is my girl's 4-H book. So we will be showing these lambs. I am the proud father of 40 embryos from Switzerland. The sheep aren't allowed into America, but the embryos are. So we implanted a partner in Ravenna, who's a farmer. So 2 sheep were born yesterday. And so these are 100% Valet Black Nose sheep. They're called the cutest sheep in the world. And so we will be showing that at the Great Geauga County Fair. So the barn situation is we have over 11 acres. The house is way to the back of the acreage. So the ordinance that you have is the barn must be behind. We understand that. Behind our land it sort of slopes in a V. It's not conducive to putting a barn. So we'd like to have the barn in the front. We have the acreage to do that. There's a long runway there to do it. Two things that may help in your decision. First of all, we need a variance for that. And then we need a variance for height. And so this barn's 27 foot high, a little over 27 foot high, and we'd like to do cupolas on it too. It just blends in well, makes it a beautiful thing. The barn across the street is just stunning as far as the look. So in this variance, it seems a lot, it's a lot of feet, but if you think of our driveway, if you take a look, it's like a reverse rainbow. It goes down and then it goes up to the street. So I'll show you, based on the topography handed to you here, one for each of you. I've got one more. So if the, it's 1,150, but, let's just say, we'll drop off the 1,100 because all of it's 1,100. So at the street level, it's 1,159. So say 59 is the foot level. My land goes down to 40, and then it starts rising up. Where the barn would be at 144. So 15 feet lower than the road itself. And then it starts swooping back up another 6 feet up to where the house is. Another mitigating factor is, if you see where my finger is, where that red box is right there, we have woods there. In the wintertime, you can take a ride back, all the leaves are off, there's limited sight. Looking through those trees, you would see the barn. In the summertime, you would not see it. So it will be totally obstructed by this trees and vegetation there. With that, I'll answer any of your questions.
How did you select the location on the parcel?
Two ways is we have a small barn across the road from there that is in shambles. We want to at some point tear that down and rebuild something there, maybe the chicken coop. That was picked because it was a lower spot, but it wasn't the lowest spot that would be wet. So we have the ability to go on an axis either down further or over further, but I just wanted to be closer to the house so I can just kind of walk to the barn in the middle of winter when it's -10 and feed the sheep.
Okay.
John, Marty?
No, I went out there today, drove.
Oh, good. You saw the steaks there?
Yeah, I looked at are you living in that silver motorhome there?
We have a motorhome on the property. We pop in there on weekends.
If you're living there, God bless you.
No, we're gonna hit the road in that thing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so, no, I don't have any questions.
You went further up the driveway than I did. I didn't see the stakes today.
Okay.
I obviously didn't go far enough
Yeah.
from the illustration or the rendering we were given. I thought it was closer to the woodlands. So anyway, where will the planned grazing be?
So between the barn and the house. So we have to have the proper fencing that's approved also in your zoning.
And what is the intent with the woodland between Bell at the south?
Where it says
where
Google?
is? Yeah.
Yeah. Don't touch it. There's actually 4 or 5 deer that live in there. So not to touch it. Keep
Because as you said,
It's great.
in the summertime, at least we don't have a rendering from Bell Road what this will look like in either condition, but
Correct.
I was trying to use my imagination.
Yeah, well, Mr. Buddha, from privacy standpoint, being on that front porch of the house that's being built now, we need those woods there. It's quite nice.
And with the building being where the proposed structure being where it is located versus where I thought it was going to, it's actually higher up on the hill.
Yeah, probably about 4 or 5 feet based on the elevation change of where you are. So again, we could slide it down there, but it's getting wetter down to that valley that, collects water by those woods right there.
I just want to confirm also the side or the portion of the the barn that's going to be facing Bell Road. On this illustration, it says front elevation.
Yeah, that front will be facing the driveway,
Oh,
and the side elevation when they point to it, so this would be, this elevation would be facing the road.
so the upper left-hand corner is what's going to be facing the road.
Correct.
I definitely misunderstood that.
No problem.
Or
Again, if and when you see it, it'd be.
never assume. Thank you for answering that.
Sure.
Can you just clarify, I was pulling up the plans.
Upper left hand, okay, so upper left hand corner will be facing the streets, the woods there. The,
Will be facing Bell.
will be facing Bell.
Okay.
The, upper right hand side would be facing the road. Oh, thanks.
Facing driveway.
Yeah,
Got it.
so it's a faux porch there and then hay goes in there, yeah.
What determined this particular size?
Well, I'm gonna do, inside of there, I work on tractors. So part of the barn, I have, old fashioned tractors from the 50s and 60s that I'll bring to the property and I kind of fuss around with those. And then, storage for hay above and just general storage that we want for our house and things like that.
I was just curious how you arrived at this particular square footage. And then what determined that the proposed barn would be 2 stories?
Hay loft, yeah, so we're actually going to have the old school, wench that takes the hay bales up into the second story.
But not as a living space or.
No, no. It wouldn't be code.
I guess I
Might
have
be a barn cat in there.
2 other questions at this time, and that is, and maybe this is more for administration or the board, and that is, does the application and any approval that we do establish that it's on the, like, if we approve it, does it have to be this size or smaller?
I have to go to another committee, I understand, after this. So you would be, well, I'm sorry.
I guess I'm trying to understand area, I just want to understand area variance. If we grant an area variance, could it possibly get bigger?
No,
No, you would be approving these plans,
That's
as I
it.
understand it, unless there's an amendment.
but it still goes through the architectural review board regardless.
I have to meet with them next. And if I made any changes to the barn, these are it, they're set. I'd like to start building when all the approvals are done. Have the crew ready and all that, but if I would need a change, there's no need for a change. It's like, I'd have to come back.
And I just have to ask, since this is the broad side of the barn, so to speak, color do you have in mind?
Staining it, probably. Everyone I talked to said to paint it red or what. I just love the look of wood, and it's just a pretty look. So probably a darker stain, old school barn look. No mild polished advertising at all.
Thanks for sharing that. And I guess I'll just ask the question again, any feedback from neighbors?
I haven't heard any. Only those from here.
I think we got a few people in the
Yeah.
audience we'll get to
Okay,
here in a bit.
all right. Thank you. That's all the questions I have at this time.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Marty,
No,
any questions?
thank you.
Mike?
No.
Dwight, if you could confirm, you said, so that as we're looking at the Google Maps
Mhm.
image,
Yeah.
it looks like it was taken at some point in the summertime.
Before the current house is being built.
Okay. So all of the existing forestry that kind of shows that right
Yeah.
angle there, that will remain, and in summertime, that's very dense foliage, hard to see through.
That's correct.
It's a wintertime issue with deciduous
Yeah,
trees.
that's correct.
All right. I know we've been talking about the setback question. Are there comments, questions on the height variance? I'd like to have all that discussion first, and then we'll invite the folks in the audience to share.
No questions. I guess it's probably the biggest factor for me is the height. With the cupola 2X, what the code is.
Yeah, I guess I would echo that as well. You did a nice job of explaining kind of how it goes down and so what it looks like from street level. Our code doesn't allow buildings over 30 feet. If, this at 30 feet, 7 inches, being pretty much right at the maximum, if we were to discuss this, approving it at 30 feet as opposed to 30 feet, 7 inches, is that something to which you are amenable?
Absolutely. Okay. And we could do away with the cupolas so we can make, it have to be structurally looking well, so, yes.
Okay. And I bring it up because, one of the considerations that we have is how much of, is the variance substantial? And for an accessory structure, a 30-foot accessory structure is a substantial variance. Not necessarily out of character for where you are, but, in the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty big variance. So that was one of the things on my mind.
And I thought the max height is 15 feet.
It is. But
That's
any-
correct. It's 15
for any
Oh,
building
okay.
in general.
All right. But for this type of building,
Correct.
it's 15.
Any detached structure, maximum height is 15 feet.
Have you thought about a lighting plan or what, with a tall structure in the front yard setback, what it's going to look like with floodlights or anything else that could be a visual distraction, especially to the neighboring properties?
So, we didn't really have a full lighting plan yet, but if anything, it's gonna be low-key, soft uplights, very soft, just so we can see the barn, as opposed to blaring, highlighting the barn. So no intention to show it that way. Same with our house, we have some nice small uplights to drive in where you can see the house.
And does a lighting plan get approved by the ARB? Is that?
I'm not sure.
Well,
It's,
they can, but it's not required. They'll ask about
I'm
lighting.
willing to bring it back, it's,
Okay.
because we're just doing low level lighting.
I don't want to put a lot of stipulations on here unnecessarily, but that certainly is a concern. Whether for safety reasons or just the nuisance of that.
Yeah, we wouldn't want, the most time it would be a nuisance is winter time. So we certainly wouldn't want to have the effect with the village and or any neighbors. So, yeah, I'd be very willing to show whatever lights we're doing.
Okay. That's all I had on the height. Anyone else? Nope. John?
Well, I appreciate you bringing up the lighting because my experience with farms, and I don't know if this is Ohio requirements or farming requirements, are those rather large lamps that are set up high.
Barn lights.
I think it's a cost factor, it's probably the cheapest thing to put up. I have no interest in that type of lighting.
Mike, we have discussion? Okay. Anything else you wanted to share with us before we turn the floor over to the neighbors?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. So we've got 2 people here to speak. All right, if you could just introduce yourself, please let us know where you are relative to Mr. Moko's property.
Sure, Robert O'Brien, speaking on behalf of Paul Lake and the Vice President of the Board. So here's a statement, we took a survey from the neighborhood, and the feedback we got is, we do not object generally to the variance that permits the building in the front or the height areas, but the neighborhood does object to the request for the stated purpose of the housing sheet due to the risk of contamination and runoff from Paw Lake And that's me speaking for the neighborhood. And then for me speaking personally as a resident, I have concerns with the chemical runoff associated with the farm. And what that would entail.
So kind of think fairly close.
And that's general statements.
If we can address that for a second, I don't know that we've spoken about runoff in previous meetings, so frankly, I'm not quite sure how to address that. The question of agricultural use, it's a permitted use in that zone, correct?
Yes, it is.
So whether agriculture is a horse, a sheep, a chicken, like we cannot distinguish between, or farm, crops, right? I mean, can we distinguish between that?
The only thing we don't permit is swine.
Okay.
May I adjust something on that? So we hired a consultant, Schweitzer, out of Akron, as well as Craig Gorse, who's a local consultant in design and plan design for natural butterfly gardens and things like that. We are 100% organic, very into permaculture. So we're looking to have food stuff there that we can. So no herbs, no pesticides. Anything will be self-contained. We've talked to 2 greenhouses now that whenever I do clear out the barns, they'll be put into a truck. We sell it to them or trade goods because they can use that as natural fertilizer. So I wouldn't really see where there's any runoff that would be off of that land. And again, we're committed to organic and permaculture gardens.
I have a related question, if I may. The topic at hand is important and interesting. Is it the business of this board to talk about use of the land and the questions that are raised? Is this the forum for that, or is that for another forum?
No, it can be for sure here. There's one of your factors, it's called the Duncan factors for the area variances, is the spirit and intent of the zoning code. And that can go to the use of the property. Even though this is an area variance and he's not asking for a use variance, he doesn't need to, because it's a permitted use, as the chairman mentioned. You can still consider exactly what it's going to be used for in your determination of an area variance. It is
That
what it
being
is.
said, previously, you guys evaluate this on a case-by-case basis. So I would say, ask you guys to consider the fact that we are a watershed, Buffalo Lake's the bottom of it. And we are also dealing with other issues of South Russell, the drainage involving our Silpon and our lake right now, outside of just this issue.
So if I can get confirmation, Mr. Milko, so the barn itself, housing animals, they'll eat hay, whatever.
Hay,
Animals
vitamins, typically,
So
water.
So potentially then the concern, please tell me if I'm wrong, the concern would be more from crops, like fertilizer, things like that, or?
Neighborhood's concern is specifically from the housing of sheep. And that would be from their fecal matter getting into the lake, and also increasing phosphorus levels, which then promotes algae growth. And Paw Lake is having a number of issues because of our silt buildup and our silt pond that's now carrying over to our lake. And the depth of the lake has shrunk dramatically in the past 5 to 6 years here. So we're having a very difficult time mitigating that issue, is keeping our lake clean and helping the rest of South Russell with the drainage mitigation.
I'd be very willing to address the Paw Lake community because we want to be good stewards and good neighbors. And actually, sheep regenerate crop growth. It's healthy for the soil as the droppings along with the soil and the rain. And that's the best fertilizer to plant. So we'll actually be moving them around so that we get greater, better soil in the long run.
So I'll say that would exacerbate the Paw Lake issue.
Which could be something that comes more along the lines of like a nuisance complaint. I'm not saying that you have to wait for an issue to happen, but generally that's usually how it would go. Instead of this board necessarily determining whether or not that's going to happen from the runoff, we don't necessarily know.
It's a watershed, so what else would we bring?
I don't know, but my other point is that it is an agricultural use, which is a permitted use, but not only that, I'm actually unsure if the BZA has full authority on agricultural uses in Ohio. I know townships have absolutely no zoning authority whatsoever when it comes to agricultural uses, only in platted subdivisions. I don't believe this is a platted subdivision. I don't know that you would be able to actually opine whether or not on the agricultural part of it. Stormwater runoff, perhaps, and again, might be more of a nuisance issue than it would actually be before the BZA. So, I mean, your concerns are definitely valid, and they definitely hear them and address them. But again, I don't know that it's something that they can actually opine on from an agricultural use perspective of it.
Sure, anyways, I would say we do know where it's running off of. It's not in question whatsoever. It's the lowest point. That's where everything's draining.
To be clear, your intent is not to ship it off to another location. Just to.
Absolutely not. It's self-contained and our, yeah.
All right, have you finished?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Lazaro Lopez, 1429 Bell Road. I'm a new resident of South Russell, moved here this past summer. We're active duty military. We don't oppose anything that I've heard tonight, my wife and I. We just wanted to hear what the plans were. And aesthetically, I can speak from that aspect that during the summertime, we cannot see its property. The only way you see the property or see the home that is existing now is when you're looking down its driveway. So from where the plans are saying, it's not going to be a visual thing during summertime. That's all we have.
So at 1429, where are you in relation here to the
If we look on the Google map, it was just up, we were to the right.
immediate house to the right?
The house is right, or if you're, depends on how you want to look at it. Right here, we're the first house at the bottom right.
Where Louise Drive? Louise
Yes.
Drive is directly across.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have additional comments, questions, things they'd like to have asked or answered, I guess is a better word. No? All right.
Within it then, so we're restricting our conversation here really to the primary topics that were presented in the paperwork, right? It's about the barn in front and the side of the barn, and that important, interesting topic the gentleman brought up. That's not being we're just not deciding or passing an opinion on that right now. Or maybe we won't, but right now what we're just talking about is the things that are on the paper.
Correct.
Right, good, okay.
Now, we can put conditions on any motion that we put forth, if we felt there was a legitimate concern that we wanted to address through whatever, remediation that we wanted to put on there. But yeah, we are only voting on these two issues. We are going to address them separately, so rather than make them, approve or deny them as a combo, we'll make these as individual variances. I will say before I go any further, I do have just a concern I mentioned about the overall height of the barn not exceeding 30 feet. I will make my motion to approve subject to the building being no higher than 30 feet, which would require you to come back, not in front of this board, but to provide plans to validate the height of the finished building. Okay. So we'll make the first motion regarding the property of 1417 Bell Road to approve a variance request for a barn in the front yard setback.
Second.
Yeah, I don't know that I needed to make any more. But I will actually, like before I motion to approve a barn as proposed from a square footage and size perspective in the front yard setback, not to exceed what has already been proposed to us or presented to us. There we go.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? John?
Yes, I would like to include a condition on retaining the woodland to help block the view.
then let me amend that. So for the property at 1417 Bell Road, make a motion to approve an area variance to allow a barn in the front yard setback with a size not to exceed the plans presented to us, with the additional stipulation that existing wooded areas to the sides of that building be left as is. Did I capture that, John?
Well, you said the sides,
To the,
Side of the barn.
both sides of the barn.
between the barn and Bell Road,
Yes.
as they exist today or something.
If I could comment on that, Mr. Milk has been very respectful of the tree line, the entire process, whenever he's cut something down, he's let us know, and a lot of the area you're talking about is on Paul Lake property. In terms of that woodland, so it wouldn't be an option to cut it down without any restrictions.
Okay.
Anytime you guys have issues, come to the neighborhood and present it.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Good luck.
I'm also thinking not only of the view from Bell Road, but the issues that you've brought up, because having a woodland there might help prevent drainage, because that's the lowest part of the property. That's where the water's gonna.
It's gonna go to the lake.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it might slow it down a little bit, it might get caught, it might have a percentage lower, kind of like the theory of the mass layer, like things out, maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 2%, 3%, 5%. But I would say the majority of it, yeah, it's gonna drain to the lowest point.
anyway, those were the two reasons for my request.
Was there any additional discussion on the motion in front of us? Is everyone clear on the motion?
Yes.
Can I get a second on the motion?
Second.
Ruth, roll please.
Andy Hitchcock,
Yes.
Mike Malloy,
Yes.
John Buda,
Yes.
Martin O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay. So for the second variance request in front of us regarding the height, I would make a motion to approve a height variance for the accessory structure at 1417 Bell Road, not to exceed 30 feet, with plans that come back in front of the village showing that the final structure is no more than 30 feet high. Can I get a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion on the motion?
Yep.
Okay. Ruth?
Andy Hitchcock,
Yes.
Mike Malloy,
Yes.
John Buda,
No.
Martin O'Toole.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Dr. Martin?
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm a little envious.
I think it's great.
What's the nature of the no?
And I'll show you.
So,
Two times the variance is going to be off. We already have an example
Won't be, but
of a barn.
there's even.
so do we have any old business that need to come in front of us? Any new business that we want to discuss? All right. Well, it is 7:52. We'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
All right. So you're saying that there's, you're talking about the other barn, not the.
Yeah, good job.
By the barn? Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bob Evans,
Yeah,
with all the
right.
lights. and the barn.
Yeah, somebody.
That's the lighting question. It was a great question.
Yeah.
No, I think everyone here appreciates